is episode number 33 of Hitting for the Cycle. That's Ben Kruse. I'm Ryan Touhey. And Ben, how are you doing this morning?
Doing good. The Celtics had a big win the other night. Red Sox decided to go into Tropicana Field and to win some games. So that felt nice. How about you?
I'm doing all right. It could be better. The Rangers absolutely put on a clunker of a performance last night against the Florida Panthers at Madison Square Garden, getting shut out 3-0 in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals, including them scoring on their own net. So not a good way to start that series. But hopefully to God, they right the ship very soon and get back in the series in Game 2. And also, I'm sitting in the dark because I am without power. So I will make the best of it, though. We got a couple of things that we're going to get into today. But before we do, we just want to remind everybody to follow Hitting for the Cycle on Facebook, X, and Instagram at HFTC ETB. Follow the Empty the Bench Podcast Network at ETB Network. Follow our YouTube channel at youtube.com/ETB Network. And finally, listen to us on whatever platforms you get your podcasts.
Yep. And this episode is presented to you guys by Playback. Watching sports is more fun with others, but we spend too much of our time watching alone. Playback is a virtual space where communities can stream live sports together, with everyone perfectly synced up. Creators can hop on stage, deliver their own play-by-play analysis and commentary, and invite viewers up for Q&A. Playback makes watching sports fully interactive and a social experience. From playing fantasy sports, repping your favorite players and teams, and watching the commentators and communities you care about. Win or lose, sports are best enjoyed together. Join our community by going to playback.tv/EGB Network to find more, including our live stream schedule.
All right, so our first topic that we are going to discuss today revolves around Yankees owner Hal Steinbrenner, who made an announcement yesterday in an interview that the Yankees are going to have to lower their payroll for next year in the 2025 season, which I'm sure is going to or has delighted many Yankee fans. The Yankees right now currently are sporting a $300 million payroll, and they are among the top 3 in the league in payroll. And this puts them deep into the luxury tax territory. So Steinbrenner's quote was, he said, "I'm going to be honest, payrolls at the levels we're at right now are simply not sustainable for us financially. It wouldn't be sustainable for the vast majority of ownership groups, given the luxury tax we have to pay." Now, obviously, the big story going into next season when it comes to the Yankees and their payroll is whether or not they re-sign Juan Soto. And the Yankee fans right now are all over Steinbrenner, telling him, you better re-sign Soto, you better extend him, you better lock him up for the long term. Soto, as we mentioned in a couple of episodes ago, is looking at a very lucrative deal, which will which will most likely be among the richest deals in baseball history. I'm saying his contract next year, I'm predicting it's probably going to be in the top 5 most lucrative contracts in baseball history. I made my prediction that in order for the Yankees to lock up Soto after this year, it may be around 10 years, $550 million or $600 million at minimum, maybe. Right, Ben is giving me is pointing the upward trajectory here, but Soto obviously has been playing as advertised. He's been the Yankees MVP this year so far, and arguably he's the front runner for the AL MVP award this year if he keeps playing at this rate. So obviously, the Yankees would like to lock up Soto, like we mentioned last episode. That Soto said he was open to contract talks during the season. Steinbrenner said he was. However, I don't see them making a deal anytime soon. It's too early in the season. And plus, with Scott Boras being Soto's agent, Boras, as we all know, loves for his clients to wait till the end of the season to lock up the best deal possible in the offseason. And that's most likely what I think is going to happen. I think that Soto's isn't going to wait till the end of the season to decide to make his decision. And, we also mentioned how Mets owner Steve Cohen would like to probably be involved in talks with Soto after this season as well. And, when it comes to the Yankees, obviously they've always had one of the highest payrolls in the league ever since Steinbrenner bought the team in 1973, they've been consistently among the highest paid teams in Major League Baseball, if not the highest paying team. And we all know that, having one of the highest payrolls in baseball, while it can be beneficial in locking up the best talent in the game, doesn't necessarily translate to world championships. The Yankees obviously have gone through the years with the highest payroll, and they've only won one World Series this century in 2009. So when it comes to Soto, that's obviously going to be a big commitment, and the Yankees have a lot of free agents after this season. Obviously, a big one is Gleyber Torres, who is looking more and more likely to not return next year due to the way he's played this year. He's been a massive disappointment so far for the Yankees. Anthony Rizzo is a free agent after this year. Garrett Cole has an opt-out after this year. He's got a big contract. The Yankees obviously have to pay for him. They obviously have the Carlos Rodon deal, Aaron Judge's deal, Giancarlo Stanton's deal. Don't forget, they also have to pay another $10 million to Aaron Hicks for that brilliant move they made all those years ago, which still pisses me off to this day that they were stupid enough to do that. That's unforgivable, and that's a story for another day.
Reminds me of the Pablo Sandoval.
This was worse. This was worse. This is worse than Sandoval. But yeah, a lot of Yankee fans obviously are not happy that Steinbrenner said these things. They want him to act more like his father. Hal Steinbrenner is not George Steinbrenner. Hal is not George. And, George was also very careless with his money at times and, wasted a lot of money on a lot of busts over the years. Now, Hal has done that too a little bit with some of these guys who he's signed over the years. But, with the Yankees and how much money they've already committed to some of these players, I can understand where Hal is coming from. And, the Yankees also have a lot of they have some talent down in the farm system that they're looking to go to for the future. I mentioned a couple of episodes ago, Spencer Jones is very high on the Yankees' radar. The Yankees would like to bring him up probably within a season or two, depending on how he performs in the minors. But yeah, my thoughts on this though are obviously I would like Steinbrenner not to go crazy about money. Obviously, as a fan, I always want the Yankees to get the best players possible and to, have the best team possible to win no matter what the case is. That goes for basically any sports fan base, if you ask me. You always want the best players and you always want to feel that you have the best chance at winning. So, this kind of doesn't necessarily translate to that feeling. Kind of makes me feel that, money and financial stability is more important for Steinbrenner than putting the best product on the field. But I'm not the owner of the New York Yankees. For me, my thought is just don't go 82-80 again, please. And at least get players who have heart and we'll give it their all. Just don't get these random guys, here and there, guys like Jake Bauers, Willie Calhoun's, freaking like Jay Bruce's. Please stop those guys, please. Get me some real quality ball players year in, year out. Obviously, as a Yankee fan, their goal every year is to win the World Series. Are the Yankees going to win the World Series every year? Freaking no. That's never going to happen. That will never happen with any team.
I would hope not.
No team would ever win the World Series every single season. But having said that, this, in my opinion, with this statement and with all these guys that the Yankees have on their roster right now, it's win or die with this season. They better win the World Series this year because they went all out this year to get guys like Soto and Verdugo, and they brought in guys like Stroman as well. So the pressure's on for the Yankees. If you're going to lower payroll after this year, I think the chances of you winning the World Series next year will be lower than this year then. So you better win it this year. That's all I got to say about that. I don't know if you have any thoughts about this.
Yeah. I think personally with this, I think that, he kind of has like a feel of like having to say something like this because like I feel like he doesn't want to say like right after the season's over, like, oh, we're going to like lower payroll and like specifically, like I'd rather have him say this to you guys like now because like, it could change his mind specifically throughout the season. They could potentially figure out some financials with some other guys. I mean, in terms of Juan Soto, the chances of him signing during the season are very low already. So it's all about specifically you know, guys like Gleyber Torres, Anthony Rizzo. I mean, Rizzo, as great as he is, he's getting older, up there in age. Garrett Cole, I imagine they're going to figure something out with him. They already have Stanton locked up. They're going to figure something out with Juan Soto. And Hal also has been saying, Ryan, that how much he wants to make Juan Soto a lifelong Yankee. I don't think specifically, this comment. Yeah, obviously this comment might be for possibly their long term, but I think that, they're not going to be able to keep guys specifically at massive lucrative deals. They're just not. And that's essentially, I think, what he's trying to get to. He's just like, well, we're going to essentially get some guys we can long term. And, if not, I mean, if now Juan Soto isn't signed long term, then this comment obviously speaks a lot more than what I anticipated. And I think this comment obviously kind of tells me they're just like, we're in a win now mode type of winning now, but we're going to have to face the consequences down the road, and where we might not have to keep some guys specifically that some of you fans want to keep.
Yeah, I agree. It's a tricky situation. The Yankees, like I said, they've already committed so much money to other players, and now they're looking to commit more money and more years to another player. Granted, Soto would probably be the best guy to give that kind of money and deal to. I mean, the Yankees undertook an enormous risk with the Stanton contract. Obviously, it's like a big risk on Rodon with his injury history. And they even took a big risk with Judge, because Judge obviously is a big guy. He's in his early 30s. You don't know if he's going to be able to keep up this massive level of production in the foreseeable future. This is only the second year of a 9-year deal with Judge. I mean, Judge is locked up till he's 41 or 40. So, you wonder what he's going to look like towards the end of his contract. Garrett Cole is obviously not going to be able to throw 100 miles an hour forever. But with Cole's skill set, I think he could turn more into a control pitcher. And I think he's smart enough to reinvent himself down the road. So I think Cole can be a solid pitcher for the majority of this deal. But yeah, I mean, Soto is only 25 years old. It makes sense to try and lock him up long term and to try and be, a cornerstone piece to your franchise. But yeah, it's just going back to what I said about, win now. That's the phase that the Yankees are in with their roster. They have a good roster, and they got some talented players. But man, you really put yourself in a position where, falling anything short of a World Series is not acceptable now. You're coming off a terrible 2023. You made all these moves in the offseason. You traded all these players to get all these other ones. So yeah, it's go time for the Yankees. This is year 15 since your last World Championship. It's time to get it.
Put the big pants on, all right?
Was that?
I said it's time to put the big pants on, as I said.
That's basically what I'm trying to say. It's no more coming up short without consequences. So. If they lose this, regardless, the Yankees are looking at a lot of changes next year. I mean, there are a lot of changes going into this season. There's going to be even more, if you ask me, when it comes to next year. A lot of guys are probably not going to be back next year, and next year is probably going to be the beginning of a new era in the history of the Yankees. Because, like I said, a lot of these guys are not going to be back, and the Yankees are going to have to fill all these holes with some other free agents and probably some homegrown prospects. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, this Steinbrenner is not exactly adored by the Yankee fan base for the most part. Cashman is not exactly adored by the Yankee fan base. We're not the easiest fan base to please. So yeah, it's an interesting scenario. We'll see what happens down the road. Moving on, some pretty interesting news was also broken yesterday. Jim Leyland, Barry Bonds, and Manny Sanguillen. The three of them have been named to the Pittsburgh Pirates Hall of Fame. The three of them will be inducted in a ceremony in August. at PNC Park. And I was immediately intrigued with this topic, especially when I saw that Barry Bonds was going to be inducted into the Pirates Hall of Fame. Because when it comes to Barry Bonds, most people, associate him with the San Francisco Giants, understandably so. Bonds played the majority of his career in San Francisco, and that's where he dominated all those years. It's where he achieved all those records, the home run records, the single season home run record, the all-time home run record. So obviously, it's an interesting scenario. Bonds' final numbers with the Pirates were obviously not as much or nowhere near his numbers with the Giants. He was a career 275 hitter with the Pirates, but that's where he started his career. Finished with 984 hits, 176 home runs, 556 runs batted in, and 672 runs scored. And he played in 1,010 games with the Pirates. He played with them from 1986 to 1992. And for a couple of those seasons, he played with Jim Leyland, who's also going to be inducted, like I mentioned. And Leyland was the perfect manager almost for the Pirates. Him and Bonds were basically two leaders in that. Well, I don't know if you can consider Bonds a leader. Leyland was the captain of that ship, and he basically had to keep an eye on Bonds because Bonds, as we all know, had a short fuse and could be a pain in the butt to deal with. But for all that, Leyland did a great job of managing him, and Bonds has been highly complimentary of Jim Leyland, saying that he was his favorite manager to play for. And Bonds won 2 MVP awards in 1990 and 1992, and the Pirates won 3 straight division titles from 90 to 92 as well. Unfortunately for them, they could never reach the World Series. They lost to the Reds in the 1990 NLCS and to the Atlanta Braves in 1991 and 1992. And the Pirates had a lot of talent on that team. You had guys like Barry Bonds, obviously, Bobby Bonilla, Andy Van Slyke, Doug Drabeck as a pitcher. So, and there was also a young Tim Wakefield as well. So they really had a lot of talent. And it's kind of disappointing that they never went as far as they could have in the playoffs. But Bonds kind of left Pittsburgh under chilly circumstances. He never was going to get a massive contract from the Pirates. I am just falling further and further into darkness. But he never got. He was never going to get the big contract that he wanted from the Pirates. And as a result, he elected for free agency, and he went to the Giants. And we know the rest is history. And I don't really know too much about Manny Sanguillen, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm looking him up right now. But I wanted to get your thoughts on Bonds and Leyland specifically getting inducted into the Pirates Hall of Fame.
Yeah, congrats to them. Like you mentioned, with Barry Bonds, I really just kind of think about him just as a Giant. I really didn't know much specifically about him in Pittsburgh. And even like Manny Sanguillen, Jim Leyland obviously specifically is a very good manager. Of course, he was with the Tigers for many years. So, I mean, congrats to these guys specifically. PNC Park, Ryan, is a fantastic park. I mean, I've gotten the privilege to be there to see a game. One of the best backdrops in baseball. So that Pirates team specifically, the amount of guys that they had right here, it's tough they didn't win anything specifically because they just have a great vibe over there, really good ballpark, great fans. But congrats to them, and hopefully they get honored well when they get honored.
Yeah, so Sanguillen played for the Pirates from 1967 and from 69 to 76. He helped the Pirates win 2 World Series in the 1970s and 1971. In 1979, both against the Baltimore Orioles. The 79 team is the last World Series title that the Pirates won. They have one of the longest title droughts right now in Major League Baseball, and they've unfortunately have been one of the worst teams in baseball. They haven't had many winning seasons since the 1992 season, which was about Bonds' last season. Obviously, we all know how that ended with Sid Bream scoring the winning run of that LCS. Beating a throw from Bonds. And a lot of people were critical of where Bonds was playing during that at-bat against Francisco Cabrera that led to the Braves securing the National League pennant. Bonds was kind of like not super appreciated in Pittsburgh as much as he was in San Francisco. That was one of the reasons why he left. He just felt underappreciated there, and I think he felt that people took his talent there for granted. But Bonds definitely was a significant part in the Pirates' history. You can't deny that. He helped turn that franchise around in the late '80s, early '90s. Unfortunately, he struggled in the postseason all 3 years. His postseason numbers were not good. So yeah, but I think it's good. Regardless of all the controversy that Bonds has created in baseball history with the steroids and all of that, it's nice to see that he's getting some recognition for his years in Pittsburgh because people were claiming he was mostly clean during the he was pretty much natural and clean during those years, and people were praising him for being one of the best players ever with his speed and athleticism and his power. So it's good that that's not getting overlooked, and the Pirates are finally recognizing, what he did for the franchise, regardless of what happened further down the road. So yeah, and it's also good to see Jim Leyland get recognition as well because Leyland was a great manager. He had a lot of he had success there. He obviously led the Marlins to a World Championship in '97, and obviously led those Tiger teams to success in the late 2000s. So yeah, I'm particularly happy for Leyland, and it's nice to see Manny Sanguillen also get recognition too. So so we go from some good news and happy news to some sad news and bad news, unfortunately. So San Francisco Giants outfielder Jung Hoo Lee is going to be undergoing season-ending surgery in a couple of days to repair a torn labrum after a collision with the outfield wall in a game against the Reds earlier this month. I actually watched that live. It was a nasty hit that he took. I forget who was at the plate for Cincinnati, but they hit a bomb to a dead center field. And in PNC Park, it's very, very it's off the very top of the wall in the outfield. Lee leaped to try and rob to rob the guy of either extra bases or a home run, and unfortunately got his arm caught over the outfield fence, and he just came crashing down onto the ground like a ton of bricks. And unfortunately, I thought it was at first just a dislocated shoulder. That's what I was hoping for. Unfortunately, it was worse than that. And that sucks because Lee had gone off to a nice start with the Giants, and he was endearing himself to the Giant fans. I think there was a Jung Hoo Lee fan club, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a horrible way for him to end his season so abruptly. That's horrible. I feel so bad for Lee, and I feel bad for the Giants. That sucks.
Yeah, that's awful. I heard about this in terms of on the news, just on my phone specifically. Got a notification, and yeah, just Lee was obviously somebody that they got in the offseason that I think a lot of people really wanted on their team. He doesn't have a ton of power, but he definitely brought a lot of tools where he would get on base. He was kind of their energizer guy to kind of lead off for games, and just really sucks. I mean, just the way something like that happens, crashing against the wall, and then finding out that your season's done by that. It's just not good. So, sucks for him, sucks for the Giants, sucks for baseball because I think that this is going to be one of the top phenoms that we're going to see, especially the Japanese in our game today. So, prayers to him. Hopefully he comes back stronger than ever next year. And, yeah, hopefully this things get better with him.
Yeah, I mean, I think a big thing that people are going to be asking is what if he had stayed healthy the whole season, could he have won National League Rookie of the Year, perhaps, maybe?
Possibly.
I think that it's unfair. It really is. And it sucks, too, especially when you see a guy giving it his all. And unfortunately, just hurting himself. It's terrible. It really is. Yeah, speedy recovery. Hope the surgery goes well. And yeah, we hope to see him on the. So yeah, that was that. And I'm sure you'll have a lot to say about this. Rafael Devers, third baseman for the Boston Red Sox, set the team record with home runs in 6 consecutive games. He began the streak. I forgot again. Was it against Tampa, or was it?
Yeah, it was in the homestand with Tampa. Yep. So he had.
Yeah, if you want to elaborate more on it, you can.
Sorry, cut you off, Ron. Yeah, so he started in the homestand against Tampa Bay, where the Red Sox lost 3-4. He pretty much was one of the reasons, bright spots of why I was still watching. So he had his first home run against Tampa, then his second homer, and then I'm just like, all right. So then he hits another one, against St. Louis. And I'm like, all right, Rafi, I see you. Because like he kind of had a slow start to the year, Rafi did. But he's such a good hitter. Like he's definitely going to, get going. But just the consecutive bats was just hitting a homer. I mean, he was just hitting fastballs up and away. He was golfing pitches left and right. Unfortunately, the Sox lost their weekend series to the lowly Cardinals. But Rafi still had a couple of homers there, and then he obviously broke the Red Sox record. If you want to guess, Ryan, you don't want to guess specifically who held the record before Rafi did?
Trot Nixon?
Nope. Bobby Dahlbeck.
Would not have guessed that.
Out of all guys, Bobby Dahlbeck.
I would have a feeling it would be somebody you wouldn't expect.
Yeah, the king of Worcester currently right now, Bobby Dahlbeck, who for some odd reason knows how to hit the ball out in Worcester when he comes up to the Red Sox and hits like he's never hit the baseball before. So, that was just broken by Rafi Devers. Congrats to Rafi. I think he's definitely hitting the ball better. I mean, obviously his streak got snapped on Tuesday. But yeah, he even was saying the other day, it's just like, thankfully the streak is over so I can kind of focus, because I think he was starting to press a little bit the last couple of days. But it's just a great overall stat to have. I mean, it's like the Yankees with like Aaron Judge, like a massive type of thing, because he would do something like this. Or just one of the best hitters like Shohei. I can definitely see Shohei doing something like this over with the Dodgers. So yeah, congrats to Rafi, and hopefully he just has a good rest of the year.
Yeah, well, I think the major league record for home runs in consecutive games is 8, and that's achieved by several players like Don Mattingly, Ken Griffey Jr. I forget, did Mike Trout get to 7 or 8 a couple of years ago? He came pretty close a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I'll look for you right now, actually, on it.
Yeah, Trout came pretty close too, but yeah, with Rafael Devers being the new leader in this category with the home runs in consecutive games for the Red Sox, I mean, that's pretty cool. I mean, you think of all the power hitters that the Red Sox have had over the years, from David Ortiz to Manny Ramirez to Jim Rice, Ted Williams, all these guys that they've had over the years. It's Rafael Devers who has the record for most home runs in consecutive games. That's pretty impressive. So congratulations to him. It's a bright spot for the Red Sox, who have just been up and down all year. So that definitely gives the fans something to cheer about. But as you mentioned, the Red Sox actually are coming off a sweep of the Rays at Tropicana Field. So, which I'm sure is a feel good story for you guys. Because a lot of teams, I mean, the Yankees especially too, they struggle playing at Tropicana Field. Nobody really likes playing there.
Hate it.
No one likes playing there. But that's pretty cool. So then we go from that to, we're going to talk about the American League West for a little bit. I said this, I was thinking to myself a couple of days ago, where the Astros are getting hot. Of course, and they lose 2 out of 3 to the Angels yesterday. But they're still playing better baseball. They're starting to creep up a little bit. They're starting to get back into the mix. The Rangers have been god-awful. Defending world champions have not been playing like world champions at all this year. They've been absolutely embarrassed they got embarrassed by the Phillies. Played some of their worst baseball of the year in Philadelphia. I remember it was yesterday's game where Corey Seager was trying to turn a double play, try to flip the ball to Marcus Semien, and Semien ducked. So there was miscommunication there. The Rangers have looked like a shell of themselves. Granted, the injuries to their rotation have not helped them out. but their offense has been very disappointing so far too.
Not shocking.
And they just have not looked good at all. And
Mm.
right now it looks like the trend of teams not repeating as world champions is continuing, and the Rangers look like a joke right now. You would think to yourselves, if you were a new fan of baseball, if you were watching them, you would think to yourself, these guys won the World Series last year. So they just have not been looking good. And the Astros are on the verge of taking second place in the American League West, and a big reason for that is Kyle Tucker, who has just been going off. Tucker's been hitting home runs at a rapid pace. I think he's on pace for like 54, if I'm not mistaken. Right now he's at 17, but he hit 2 home runs against. I went to one of those games against them at the beginning of the month, and he had a missile into the stands. So Tucker has been a big reason for the Astros' resurgence, and the Astros are starting to creep back up into the thick of things. But when it comes to the American League West, I think the Astros are a better team than the Rangers. I think that they just have more experience and they have more depth than the Rangers do. And I expect the Astros to take second place soon. But yeah, when it comes to the Rangers, they got to start getting going. I mean, there's just not a lot of offense there. Their pitching is lousy. And they just look like a shell of themselves right now. It looks like they have a severe World Series hangover, and they just don't know what they're doing. I don't know if you want to take I don't know if you have a take on this.
Yeah, sure. I'm just currently looking at the Rangers. They have the Twins coming up, and then they have the Diamondbacks. They're 2-8 in their last 10 games as the Texas Rangers. And just you look at the Astros. Astros were one of the worst teams in baseball for the first 2 months. And I just told myself, I'm just like, they'll be coming at some point. There's no way they're not going to. And they're 22 and 28, and people would be telling me that it's like, well, that's not good. And yeah, it's not good. But when it's only May 23rd and a lot of people are expecting potentially the Astros to be sellers, well, they might be thinking again possibly because they're only 5 games back of first place, which is very doable. They're 7-3 in their last 10. And like you said, yeah, they just lost a series to the lowly Angels. But they got the A's coming up. With the A's, by the way, are starting to fall apart again.
They're 1-9 in their last 10.
Yeah, and Mason Miller. I don't know if you want to talk about any trade targets, but Mason Miller currently is a trade target that a lot of teams will like to have. So that's who the Astros have this weekend, and then they have the Seattle Mariners, who you guys are currently playing right now. The Mariners have been very up and down, so I could see the Astros taking some of those series and getting themselves maybe even back to 500, which I think a lot of people would hate, but it could be the reality. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, the Astros dominated the A's last week in Houston. They swept them 4 straight. So I expect them to continue to dominate Oakland again and use them to catapult themselves back into the top of the American League West contention. As you mentioned, right now, the Mariners lead the AL West. The Yankees are playing the Mariners right now. The Mariners have actually played the Yankees pretty tough. They came back against them on Monday night. They overcame a 4-1 deficit late in the 9th inning to come back. That was the first time this year the Yankees blew a 9th inning lead. So the Mariners have showed some fight this series. But like you said, sometimes they're hot, sometimes they're cold. They're a little too inconsistent for my liking. I think they could definitely use a lot more. They could definitely use another bat in that lineup. I mean, they rely a lot on they rely too much on the home run ball, if you ask me. They rely a lot on Cal Raleigh that put one into the seats. They definitely need some more contact guys. Their best contact hitter is probably Julio, I'd say.
Jared.
But they definitely need more. Dylan Moore's been very good for them, though. He's picked it up a little bit. But yeah, I mean, right now, the Astros are only 5 back of the Mariners, and the Mariners lead the West by 3 games over Texas, and the Mariners are sitting at 27-23. So they actually have the worst record for a division leader in baseball. So the American League West right now is very, very weak. So
who would have thought?
Yeah, who would have thought? So, which kind of frustrates me because I remember at the beginning of the season when we were talking about opening day predictions and whatever, and we were talking about how the Yankees were opening up against the Astros. And I had said I never want to face the Astros again in the postseason. I've had it. I've four times is enough. And I was hoping that they were going to have a bad year. But I'm looking at this, and yeah, they're not having a good year right now, record-wise. But I'm looking at this division. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. This is what they got to face? Like, come on. Can there be at least a little bit of fight in this division? Why is it that whenever the Astros are bad, everybody else needs to be bad? Why can't
Right.
Yeah. Pretty frustrating.
Yeah.
Pretty frustrating.
We'll see what happens.
Now, yeah, there's still a lot of baseball to go. But yeah, I mean, I think the Astros are going to get back. I think the Astros will start to get back very, very soon. The Rangers, I think, are in trouble. And hopefully, for their sake, they do. They don't get it all. So, what happens? Looks like we're having some connection issue. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, I'm without power right now. There's a severe thunderstorm going on outside of my house right now, so we apologize for the glitches in our feed if you're watching visually. So now we're just going to go around the league, just give a brief synopsis of what's going on and what to expect. So we were talking about the American League West. The Mariners lead that division by 3 games over the Rangers currently. So today is May 23rd. It's a Thursday of this recording. So Mariners first place in the West, 27-23. Texas, 24-26, second place, really struggling, 2-8 in their last 10. Astros, 22-28, 5 games back, 7-3 in their last 10. Angels, 10 games under 500 at 20-30 in fourth. And then there are the A's, who are 1-9 in their last 10, 20-31. Absolutely abysmal. So much for that fast start. So much for that respectable start they had. Way to fall out of respectability. That's the American.
Well, and by the way, Ryan, speaking of the A's, before we go into the next thing, have you seen and yes, obviously, like, I respect women in sports here and there, but have you seen the A's women broadcaster in terms of what the call she's had?
Not that great.
We'll talk about it off the air, but I want you to watch when you get the chance the latest call that she had on Brent Rooker's home run. I mean, I'll give you a little hint. Essentially, he hit a home run in the top of the 9th inning, and the ball essentially was in the stands, and she's just like, and I think this is gonna get out of here, and it does, and I'm just like, you just gotta be kidding me. And I'm like I said, like, I respect women in sports. I'm just like, all right. This is bad.
It is.
So I want you to watch it. Like, I bet she's trying. Like I said, I respect it, but I want you to watch it and see how you feel.
All right, when I get the chance, I will. But that's the American League West. We'll go to the American League Central now, which is actually turning into a dogfight. The Guardians lead the charge at 33-17. They've been playing some great baseball. They're on a 6-game winning streak. They're 9-1 in their last 10. But right on their tails are the Royals, who have also been playing very good baseball. They've won 6 in a row. And they're a game and a half back at 32-19. Royals and Guardians going at it in the Central. Pretty exciting. The Royals have looked really, really good. We were saying at the beginning of the season for our preseason picks, we both thought that the Royals would be a better team this year. They're kind of exceeding expectations and playing much, much better than I thought they would. So we'll see if they can keep it up, though, further down the road. Twins are in third at 26-23. They've won 2 in a row, but they're 3-7 in their last 10, unfortunately for them. Tigers are also 3-7 in their last 10. They've lost 4 in a row. They're 23-26, so they've fallen back. And then there are the White Sox, of course, who are 15-35, who are dead. They lost 2 out of 3 to the Blue Jays this week.
Oh my God, Blue Jays are awful.
Blue Jays got shut out in that middle game by them. If you got shut out by the White Sox, I would probably look at myself in the mirror, think to myself, "What have I done?"
Yeah, we'll talk about them next week and some of the teams that I think will start selling some pieces. They're a team I think that will. So
yeah, and then in the AL East, the Yankees lead the charge at 34-17. The Orioles are in second at 29-18. The Red Sox are in third at 26-14. You guys have won 4 in a row. Rays have lost 4 in a row. They're 25-26 in fourth. And then the Blue Jays are 22-26 and in the last place of the AL East. Moving on to the National League East. Currently, the Phillies just continue to roll, continue to dominate. 36 and 14, best record in baseball, best team in baseball. They have a 6-game lead in the National League East. Their lead has ballooned. The Braves are in second at 28 and 18. Braves have kind of been scuffling a little bit. They're 4-6 in their last 10. They did win. How
about Chris Sale though, Ryan? He's going on an absolute revenge tour. Happy for my guy.
Thank God he's not on the Red Sox anymore. That's all I got to say. Although he hasn't pitched great against the Yankees since like 2018, unfortunately. So we'll see how he does when the Yankees see him this year at some point, or if the Yankees draw him when they face Atlanta this year. The Nats are in third place at 21 and 27. They're 2-8 in their last 10. The Mets are 21 and 28. They're 2-8 in their last 10. And then there are the Marlins in the last at 17 and 34.
They've been playing better though. The Marlins, got to give them a little credit.
Take it with a grain of salt. They're doing okay. For their standards, they're doing
right.
In the National League Central, the Brewers are in first place right now at 28 and 21. The Cubs are still behind them, though, at 27 and 23, so they're only a game and a half back. The Cardinals moved up to third place in the Central. They are 23 and 26. The Cardinals are coming off a sweep of the Orioles. The Cardinals have been playing some better baseball recently, so we'll see if they're able to maybe use this as a momentum booster and they're able to get back to 500 soon. I still think Oliver Marmol is not the guy for the job, though, for the Cardinals. But we'll see. In fourth place are the Pirates at 23 and 27. And in last place are the Reds, who have just fallen off a cliff at 20 and 29. Talk about a fall from grace.
The Reds of the old, I guess, are going back down.
Yep. And finally, the National League West. Dodgers, of course, lead the charge. What else is new? The Padres are in second at 500, 26 and 26. Both West divisions suck right now. They're absolutely terrible. Diamondbacks have been playing a little better, but they're still 24 and 26, 8 games back in third. The Giants are in fourth, also at the Giants and the Diamondbacks are tied for third place in the National League West. Both are 24 and 26. And of course, the Rockies, 16 and 32, last place, laughingstock. So yeah, that's what's going on around baseball right now. I don't know if you have anything else that you want to talk about. I know, we're still only just 40 minutes into this stream, but unfortunately, I'm almost out of battery because I'm without power, like I mentioned, unfortunately. So it's going to be a short episode, I think, today. We're sorry, but there's really nothing you can do. I'm sitting in the dark here, for God's sake. So yeah. If you have anything.
Yeah, I'll do my weekly Red Sox report. Like I said, the last couple of weeks it has not been great. But the Red Sox, after losing, like I said, and I've talked about them a little bit throughout the show. So they lost this past weekend to St. Louis, which was not ideal. Brian Bale got shelled. He gave up a lot of homers, which is something Brian doesn't do a lot of. But he gave a lot of homers that Friday game. The Saturday game wasn't any better. They just looked absolutely lifeless. Their offense did. But then they went to Tampa, in which a place that, one, they've struggled with, and two, their pitching just giving them fits, regardless of who's out there. And I'm sorry. I saw the Red Sox play on Roku, by the way, on Sunday. And that was quite interesting. I thought it was actually the broadcast was a little bit better than I expected, Ryan. But I think that's the only time that the Red Sox only play on there. And it snapped a 4-game losing streak the Red Sox had. So thanks to Roku for the Red Sox to maybe get themselves back on track, as they currently have not lost since the Roku game. And then they went to Tampa Bay. They swept the Rays, which has really happened, like I said, I think since 2018 with Steve Pearce. Tanner Houck continues to be dominant. On Monday, he went 7 innings, 2 hits, 5 strikeouts, only 1 walk. Ryan, he has a 1.94 ERA with a .95 whip, is Tanner Houck. So I know, for a lot of people specifically, Red Sox had to really upgrade their rotation, including myself, and I still think that they definitely have to. But the reason the Red Sox where they are has not been the rotation, which if you told me that, I would have been calling you crazy. And yes, I know, take a grain of salt, it's only May, but it's not just a fluke of this Red Sox rotation. I think there's now a lot of future, some of these guys specifically that have been pitching great. Tuesday came around. Let me see who pitched on Tuesday. It was Cooper Criswell, who has been kind of the Swiss Army knife for this team. He's given them, 4 or 5 innings, but he hasn't given up a lot of runs. And he's kind of been able to kind of keep the Red Sox in games. In this game, he went 5 innings, 6 hits, which feel like a lot, but he got 2 runs, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, and 6 strikeouts. Criswell has under 3 ERA, 2.86 with a 1.13 WHIP. Jarren Duran and Reese McGuire had homers that game. And then yesterday, the Red Sox came back. The two wins that the Red Sox had, they came back from. And I think that showed a lot. Specifically, they were down 2-0 in the Tuesday game. And then yesterday, they were down 3-0 in their game. And they came back to win these games, including a massive, it was a 5-run 5th inning that they had yesterday. Willie Abreu continues to be an absolute force. Him and Jarren Duran 1-2 punch has been really great to see. Brian Bello pitched a lot better. He did give up a couple of runs early on yesterday, which I'm like, oh boy, here we go again. He had 4 walks, but he went 6 innings with 6 strikeouts. So I'll take it. Your old friend Greg Weisert's been pitching pretty well with the Red Sox, which I think he's been really good with. I've not seen Dick Fitzgerald pitch a lot with this team, so I'm kind of disappointed about that. But now the Red Sox have a weekend home series against Milwaukee on Memorial Day weekend, which happy Memorial Day weekend to you, Ryan.
Yes, you do.
Get to that. Thank you. Kind of doesn't really feel like Memorial Day weekend, I guess, coming up, but I guess it does in a way. I don't know. But then we have Baltimore at Camden Yards. We play them for the first time at Baltimore. And then we have Detroit at home the following weekend, which I might be at one of those games. I'm not sure yet. But yeah, that's the Red Sox report. A little bit more optimistic. And like I said, now it's starting to get a little bit darker in my area. So hopefully we'll try to finish this episode before we both maybe lose our signal.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, we kind of have to wrap it up because, like I said, my Mac is on the verge of death right now. So it's a short episode. We apologize, but there's really nothing else we can do. We want to be able to fill this episode in while we're done. But on behalf of Ben Kruse, I'm Ryan Touhey. Thanks for watching.